Hey, it's Untamed TV with your host, Craig Bielek. Thanks for joining us again, like you always do. We really appreciate you tuning in. Got a great show for you lined up. We have Justin Hatch, who is the director of the ACT at Ogden Regional Medical Center. If you're not familiar with ACT, that stands for Alcohol, Chemical, and Treatment Program. Is that correct, Justin?
Yes, the Alcohol and Chemical Treatment Program.
Good. And today we're going to talk about addiction and treatment. And so we've got our expert right here to do that. I don't even know where to start, Justin. Maybe you could give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. So my background is I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I've been working with people in the mental health, substance abuse field for 15 years now. So in various arenas, in hospitals and outpatient settings, that type of thing, a lot of emergency rooms, so really meeting people when they're in the crisis stage. But, just really getting to talk about where they're at and why they're doing what they're doing. And so I really have a passion for working with these individuals that have substance use and mental health. And really, I think where you asked where to start, I think it starts with really gaining an understanding for what addiction is and what substance use is and what mental illness is. Because I think a lot of people have the notion or the idea that people just come up with this, that it's all in their head, that that if they can only make these changes differently, they would get better. Well, the problem is that's not the case. We're learning more and more that mental illness, addiction, they're brain disorders, they're diseases just like any other disease. Right. And so really what we need to do is figure out what is going on with these individuals, and really, take that shame, take the the stigma out of it, and really view it as a disease, because then we can, really help these people move forward.
Yeah. I mean, when somebody breaks their leg, you don't give them this big lecture about using their leg.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've done. I mean, they're hurt, and people with addictions, while certainly their behaviors and they are not always desirable, and they can be very difficult to live with and cause a lot of destruction. They're also hurt. They're hurt inside.
Absolutely. We find the majority of the people that are using substances are doing so to kind of mask other things or to compensate for something else in their life. So they may be anxious or depressed or any of those type of things, and they're using those substances as a coping mechanism. And so if you view it in that aspect, then really what we're doing is just teaching them alternate coping mechanisms or different things that they can do rather than use the substance, because as you mentioned, the substance can be destructive. It can get in the way with them living a full and normal life.
Yeah, boy howdy. Anybody that's lived with anybody coping with addiction knows that. Ogden Regional's been doing this for a long time. The ACT program has been around since 1973. I mean, very long time, probably before you were born even. I don't know if that's the case, but I just thought that would make you feel good to say that. So, Justin, walk me through the process. First off, how do you determine if a person has an addiction problem? Where do you find the line between, I have a couple beers on the weekend and a real problem? How do you determine that?
Well, I think it comes down to, is it affecting your life? Is it getting in the way of you being able to do the things you need to do? Are you not able to function at work properly? Are you missing days of school? Are you, is it affecting your relationships? Is it harming you in some way? And that's really your first indicator that, maybe I have a problem. Now, the hard thing with that is a lot of times people are in denial and they can't see that they, they blame it on something else. Right. They say that it's not the substances, but really that's what you kind of look for is it getting in the way of me and being able to do my daily, functions or doing the things I need to do.
So can anyone call you up and just walk in for an assessment, or can anyone call you up and say, I need to come with like my nephew, for instance, and sit down with you? And does that cost? Is that a free thing? Or?
Yeah, no, it's a free thing. So we do assessments. So we do them mostly Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We've got an intake coordinator. She's a licensed clinical social worker that has been trained and has been doing this for years and is really good at, doing an assessment, and so those assessments are free. We don't charge for those. Obviously we do them because we are understanding that most people will transition into program, but that's free, and we encourage people to call up, get information, because if we can't help them, then we always want to point them to the people that can help them. So usually over the phone we can get a good idea of yes, they meet criteria for our treatment, or no, they don't, and then we can know the resources that we can send them to. So we encourage people to call and make an appointment. We can usually do same day appointments. We even do some weekend appointments. We've got counselors in on the weekend, so on a limited basis we can do them on the weekend. So really we just want to get people in as soon as they can. So we try not to push people away.
Yeah, that's a great point. And before we go any further, I'm sure there's people out there right now that go, okay, what's the phone number? What's the website? You want to go ahead and give that right away?
Absolutely. So our phone number is 801-479-2250. That's 801-479-2250. You can call that anytime, 24/7. If we're not, if our intake coordinator is not in, it gets transferred to our transfer center, and they answer the phone calls 24/7. Also, you can get on at ogdenregional.com. We've got a link on there to the alcohol and chemical treatment program. So.
Okay. So what happens next? Suppose I come in and you sit down with me and we go through the questions, and is it affecting your life? Yes, I got 4 DUIs, and I've lost, a couple of jobs over the last couple of years, and my family's complaining about it, and I broke my arm, fell in the driveway, stumbling around, those kind of things. I think those would be that. So what happens next?
So really, we want to get people into treatment as soon as possible. Usually when people make a decision, I'm going to come in, a lot of times they may change their mind if they leave. So we try and get people directly in right after that. For a lot of people, the first step is detox. So they've been using so much of the substances that they need to actually detox in the hospital for 3 to 5 days. And we've got a detox unit at our hospital. We have 9 beds for detox, and we keep people, like I said, 3 to 5 days. So really, we'd like to get people directly in from our intake into detox.
I want to stop you right there, just kind of interrupt you too, because I think almost everybody out there knows that you can't just stop opioids. Your body will object to that, and you could potentially die. But I mean, I've heard the same thing is true about alcohol. If you're a long-time drinker, you can't just shove it aside and think you're going to be okay.
Absolutely. Actually, alcohol is one of the most dangerous substances to stop using on your own if you're using at high levels. So if you're using on a daily basis and using high amounts of alcohol, you can actually have seizures or, go and die from the withdrawal. So alcohol, benzodiazepines, and also opiates are the substances.
What's benzodiazepine?
Benzodiazepine. So that's your medications like Xanax and Ativan, those type of medications that are used for anxiety. Those can be habit forming and addicting as well. And so those medications can be life-threatening to withdrawal from if you get to high enough levels. Now, then the normal doses that people are using, if they're using them correctly, usually is not a problem. But the problem is when they get to use more than they're supposed to, that can lead to life-threatening withdrawals. So really, we want to get people in. We want people to detox on our unit so that they can be medically managed. We can give them medications so they don't feel those withdrawal symptoms. They don't have those.
And they're in a hospital. That's another good thing to point out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're detoxing in an environment that has trained professionals that can deal with all of this.
Correct. So we have 24/7 nursing care. We have doctors that are on call 24/7. They see the patients on a daily basis while they're in detox, and so you're monitored really closely. So if you start to have those withdrawal symptoms, we immediately start to respond and give medications so that you can start feeling better, because that's the problem with withdrawals. It's just so painful and terrible. People don't want to go through it, so that's why they don't stop doing it. A lot of people want to stop, but they just don't.
Nobody wants to. I've heard it described as like an opioid addiction as having the worst case of the flu that you've ever had in your entire life for like 2 weeks solid, around the clock. You can't sleep, you're uncomfortable every moment. Nobody wants to do that.
Absolutely. So it's not comfortable. So our job and our goal is to make it as comfortable as possible and as easy as possible for people to get off. Now it's still going to be challenging. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be pain free.
Yeah.
But as much as possible, we want to keep them comfortable. We want to keep them safe. And we want to get to the place where we get to the next step, which is treatment. Because detox is great, but detox alone can't take care of the problem. So
okay, so Craig comes in. I've gone through the intake assessment. I've gone through a detox. You've got me to where I'm physically safe, maybe not mentally in that spot yet. So what's the next step?
So the next step is treatment. So while people are in detox, we have social workers, counselors that meet with patients and they talk with them and really say, hey, you great job, great for getting in here and do detox, but this is only the first step. And so we go over the treatment options with them. Now we have a variety of treatment options in our hospital. There are also other community partners that we work with, and we want to make sure that people get the right level of care. So kind of the levels of care that we have an inpatient level of care. So patients can stay in the hospital 28 days and they can get treatment within the hospital. That's nice because then people are being monitored still 24/7 for that entire time. It's they don't have that temptation to go out and use because they're with people 24/7. I think that's the hardest thing is people get detox and then they leave and then they're right back in those same environments and those same cravings are there. And so what we want to do with our inpatient program is get them in a safe environment, controlled environment, and get them working with a counselor. Then we have, if that doesn't work for people, I know people have to work. It's hard for people to leave their work life behind. People have kids or whatever. So we have a variety of different programs outpatient. So we have a partial hospitalization program that's 7 days a week. That's pretty intense. It's still 7 days a week for 28 days. The difference is people go home at night about 8 or 9 at night, and then they come back the next morning at about 8 o'clock. And then the other two programs we have are intensive outpatient programs. Both are 3 hours a day for 4 days a week. So both are Monday through Thursday. It's nice that we have one during the day for people that may have kids at school. They can go do that treatment while the kids are at school. We have one in the evening so people can work during the day and then go to the evening program. So
wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to make this a lot shorter and a lot simpler than it actually is. But, okay, so Craig has now gone through the intake, the detox, and I've gone through the treatment program. So then I leave and I go back to the life, or maybe I start a new life or something like that. Is that the end of your involvement? Is that the end of that?
Absolutely not, because really, again, treatment, the more treatment you have, the better. And so we believe in aftercare, and the aftercare is important. So what we've done is we've created an aftercare program. Anybody that goes through our outpatient programs gets to come into 2 years of aftercare. So they come in once a week, meet with a counselor. It's completely free. It's part of their, being part of the other programs. So they come in once a week for an hour, meet with a counselor, and then we also encourage them to stay connected with local groups, so AA, NA.
Well, and you have your own alumni association.
Correct, yeah.
For the ACT. And I know this because a friend of mine who watches this program, hello, I'm not going to say who, anyway, he watches this program, and he came to me one day and he said, I went through your ACT program 26 years ago. And he said, they saved my life. And I said, are you still clean? And he said, absolutely. He said, to this day I am. And in fact, I know that you have counselors in your program that have gone through that program years ago.
Yep.
As patients, and now they're counselors.
Yeah, that's true. So, so people that stay connected to the program do much better. So we have people that have gone through a treatment that are counselors. We have people that are in an aftercare program that have been, we had a volunteer that went through our program 30 years ago and now came back and wanted to help and volunteer for us. And so it's so important to stay connected. And so we have the alumni program. So even after aftercare, the alumni gets together about quarterly. They do activities, they do sledding, barbecues, Christmas party.
Wow.
A lot of fun things,
Yeah.
because they want to stay together as a group, and it's really important to have those bonds and those ties. And that's really what keeps them, clean and sober on the long term.
So this is not a short-term, get in here, we'll patch you up and kick you out program. This is an actual lifelong, if you will, program.
Absolutely. We give people a keychain when they leave, and it says ACT for life, and that's really what we believe is once you're in our program, you're part of our camaraderie, and we want to keep you there and do that. So, we talk about recovery. So people, recovery is a process. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that goes on for years and years and years. And, our counselors, like you mentioned, that are, went through treatment 30 years ago, they still consider themselves in recovery because they're still, have to work on it on a daily basis. And
Sure.
remind themselves of those things they've learned. So
Sure. I hope any of you out there watching this will consider using this program. And let me tell you, there's no shame in this. If you are out there and you're in a family that has not been touched by addiction, raise your hand right now, because there's not very many of you out there. It's just something that is part of our world, and the good news is, however, you can be treated and that you can recover. So if you're out there, you feel like you need this help, you feel like you've got a brother, a sister, a dad, a son, something like that needs help also, give Justin a call. He'll know. His guys know. They're trained to deal with this sort of stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So phone number and website one more time.
Okay, the phone number again is 801-479-2250.
Right.
And then the website is ogdenregional.com.
There you go. Don't suffer. These guys are out there waiting to help you. It can be done. They've got literally by now probably thousands of people out there in our community and other communities that have gone through this program and have successfully recovered. It ain't easy. It ain't easy, but it can be done.
Yep, we definitely believe it can be done, and that's why we do what we do. So
that's why he does what he does. And that's why I do what I do, because I'm not good enough to do anything like this. That's why I have great guests like this on Untamed Television. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again on the next episode. Our guest today has been Justin Hatch with Ogden Regional's ACT, and Justin wants to help you. He really does.
that's right. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you.